Welcome to the Phil and H Travel Podcast. Is it worth it?
You know, usually when we talk about finding a hidden gem in the travel world, there's this expectation of a neatly packaged secret.
Right. Like finding a speakeasy behind a bookshelf.
Exactly. You pull the lever, the door swings open, and suddenly you're handed this perfectly crafted artisanal cocktail.
In a super comfortable, dimly lit room where, everyone magically speaks English.
Yeah, it's what the industry calls curated discovery.
Yeah.
Like, we want our secrets to feel authentic, but we still expect them to come with a certain baseline of globalized service.
We want the wildness, but we want it with high-speed Wi-Fi.
And a thread count guarantee.
Well, exactly. It's safe wildness. But when you look at the reality of island hopping in Southeast Asia as we head into 2026, suddenly that curated speakeasy door is it's blown clean off its hinges.
Oh, completely. We are looking at a destination landscape today that is thrillingly, just uncompromisingly unpolished.
It's the absolute definition of raw potential.
It really is. It's a place
Yeah.
that demands you adapt to its rhythm rather than, it adapting to yours.
And that is exactly what we're evaluating for you, the listener, in today's deep dive. We are placing Camiguin, a small island province in the Philippines, under the microscope.
Which is a destination the New York Times just named one of the 52 places you absolutely must visit in 2026.
Yeah. And yet, here is the central paradox we're going to unravel today. Despite this massive, glowing international media hype, almost no international travelers are actually going there.
Which is mathematically baffling when you first look at the charts.
Totally.
But it makes perfect economic and logistical sense once you actually look under the hood of how global tourism infrastructure works.
So we really need to figure out what is going on here. We're talking about the island born of fire.
Literally.
Right. We're looking at an incredibly tiny footprint of land that somehow holds 7 active and dormant volcanoes.
7. It's wild.
Yeah.
We're talking about a historic cemetery that was swallowed whole by the sea. And, high quality, genuinely comfortable accommodation that completely caps out at just $20 a night.
Which sounds fake, but it's not.
Our mission for this deep dive is to map out everything you need to navigate this paradox. We'll pinpoint the absolute best time to visit, evaluating the cultural peak of the October Lanzones Festival against the reliable dry season stretch from March to May.
And we're going to expose the massive, trip-ruining logistics traps.
Oh, yeah. Specifically, the dreaded Balingoan ferry trap from Mindanao. We'll also lay out the daily economic realities, from a bare-bones backpacker budget all the way up to a family splurge.
And finally, we will deliver the ultimate verdict on whether this place actually lives up to the New York Times hype.
I think we owe you the headline verdict right up front, actually, just to anchor this whole conversation.
Absolutely. Here's the thesis to keep in mind as we pull this apart. If you can handle basic, localized infrastructure, and you make your move in 2026 before the massive global crowds arrive.
Camiguin is the most underrated island in Southeast Asia.
Without question.
Yeah.
But the clock on that underrated status is ticking very loudly.
Yeah. Let's start with the sheer physical reality of this place, because the facts are genuinely extraordinary. To give you some spatial context, Camiguin is the second smallest province in the entire Philippine archipelago.
Right.
We're talking about roughly 240 square kilometers of land.
And to put that into perspective, you can actually visualize that is smaller than the city limits of most major metropolitan areas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, you could fit the entire island of Camiguin inside the city boundaries of Chicago 2.5 times over. It is remarkably compact.
And yet, on that tiny 240 square kilometer speck of land, nature has packed in 7 distinct volcanoes.
That makes Camiguin the most volcano-dense location per square kilometer on planet Earth.
On Earth.
On the planet. It's a staggering geographic anomaly. We're talking about an island smaller than most city limits that literally has more volcanoes than gas stations.
That's not even an exaggeration. It's a geological pressure cooker.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the critical thing to understand is that these aren't just ancient, dormant mounds of dirt that serve as cute green backdrops for your photos. We are dealing with serious active geology here.
Yeah, Mount Haibok is the apex of this, right?
Exactly. It's still officially classified as a highly active volcano.
Ah.
And its history is incredibly dark and very real. Its last major eruptive phase peaked in 1951, a catastrophic event that tragically killed around 3,000 people.
Man, that is a massive loss of life for such a small population center.
It was devastating. And the trauma and the physical reality of that geological violence have literally shaped everything about this island. It dictated where the towns were rebuilt, how the roads curve, and the deep respect the locals have for the land they live on.
Which brings us to a really fascinating concept from our sources, the idea that in Camiguin, geology is the destination.
Yes.
Like when you travel here, you aren't just looking at the weathered after effects of ancient fire. You are actively swimming in them, walking on them, exploring them in real time.
Because what's so captivating about the topography here is how the sheer destruction of the past has physically manifested into the prime attractions of the present.
Like the sunken cemetery.
Exactly. Take the massive eruption of Mount Vulcan in 1871. That singular catastrophic event completely destroyed the original capital town of Caterman.
It didn't just burn it, right?
No, the geological shift physically submerged a massive portion of the town beneath the ocean. Today, that submerged area is the famous sunken cemetery
Wow.
and the old church ruins of Caterman that people walk through. Same eruption, same devastating event. You are touring the physical remnants of an apocalypse.
And the geology isn't just like a museum exhibit. It's still actively cooking beneath the surface.
Oh, yeah.
The natural soda water pools on the island only exist because volcanic mineral gases are actively permeating the island's groundwater right now.
Right.
The ardent hot springs are boiling because the magma deep in the earth beneath your feet is generating intense, constant heat. You are literally bathing in the exhaust of a living planet.
You're interacting with a living, breathing Earth ecosystem in a way that is profoundly rare, especially in a tourist context where these things are usually, heavily sterilized.
But let's look at the human element of this, because the tourism statistics tell a wild story that completely contradicts normal travel trends.
Yeah, the numbers are fascinating.
As we mentioned, the New York Times puts Camiguin on its 2026 52 places list. And what is vital to note is that this is the only Philippine entry on the entire global list.
The only one.
They completely bypassed the massive powerhouses. They didn't pick Boracay, they didn't pick Palawan or Cebu.
They picked an isolated province with 87,000 local residents and literally zero traffic light.
Zero.
Zero. You can circumnavigate the entire province and you will not hit a single red light.
That is amazing. Now, you would think a New York Times endorsement means an immediate deluge of international backpackers and luxury seekers. And, the total numbers are definitely growing.
Right. Total tourists grew 37.17% in just 1 year. It jumped from 210,369 in 2023 to 288,558 in 2024.
But here is the data point that stops you in your tracks. Of those nearly 300,000 tourists in 2024, only 18,577 were foreign visitors.
Which leaves us with a 94% domestic tourism ratio.
Exactly. So I want to unpack this. If 94% of the tourism is domestic, that tells me the entire infrastructure of this island is exclusively calibrated for locals.
100%.
They aren't translating menus into English, German, and Mandarin. They aren't adjusting their daily rhythm to cater to a Western traveler's frantic 3-day itinerary.
No, not at all.
So is that the real reason the international crowd hasn't flooded in yet? Because the island simply doesn't know how or frankly care to host them in a westernized way?
That is a brilliant deduction, actually. And it points to two very distinct realities you have to understand. First, the sheer volume of domestic tourists completely validates the objective quality of the destination. Well, Filipinos know their archipelago better than anyone. They have over 7,000 islands to choose from.
Right.
If almost 300,000 locals are actively choosing to spend their hard-earned money and their limited vacation time navigating ferries to get to Camiguin, it means the natural beauty, the culinary scene, and the culture are genuinely top tier.
That makes total sense. It's the ultimate local credibility.
Exactly. This is not a manufactured tourist trap designed to extract dollars from foreigners.
It's a place Filipinos go to experience the Philippines.
Precisely. And the second reality is the incredible, fleeting opportunity this presents for you, the international traveler.
A golden window.
Right. The lack of foreign tourists highlights a true pre-globalized gem. You are getting the exceedingly rare chance to experience a stunning Southeast Asian island before the massive international hospitality machine moves in.
You're there before the local culture contorts itself to fit Western expectations of service.
Exactly. But as you pointed out, that massive domestic volume naturally dictates when you should book your flights. because domestic travelers move in very predictable cyclical patterns.
Right, so let's pivot to the crowds and the optimal timing, because timing is everything if you want to avoid getting crushed by local holiday
Oh,
surges.
absolutely.
Our sources highlight an economic concept they call the lag window. Because foreign tourists made up only 6% of the 2024 total, we are currently sitting in this unique bubble,
Meaning the New York Times effect has been published, but it hasn't physically materialized into international bookings yet.
which creates a golden window for 2026. Now, because the crowd is almost entirely driven by the domestic market, the island's limited infrastructure only genuinely redlines and fills up during very specific cultural moments.
Right, like Philippine public holidays, Holy Week, and the massive October Land Zones Festival.
Okay, so if you are planning a trip, you need a mental weather and timing matrix. What does that look like?
Well, the overarching dry season runs from November to May. But the absolute sweet spot, the time when the weather, the crowds, and the visibility all align perfectly, is February through April.
Why that specific pocket?
Because you are looking at the post-Christmas crowds having entirely cleared out and gone back to work, but you're well before the unpredictability of typhoon season.
Ah, okay.
The temperatures are sitting in the very comfortable low 30s Celsius. And crucially, for an island known for marine life, you have peak water visibility for diving and snorkeling.
Now, contrast that with October, which is the Land Zones Festival. This is a massive, island-wide street dancing celebration honoring the local harvest of the Land Zones fruit.
It's incredible to see.
It sounds like peak cultural immersion. The vibes are incredible. But you will face the absolute highest prices of the year and fully booked accommodations everywhere. You cannot just show up in October and expect to find a room.
No, you'll be sleeping on the beach.
Yeah.
And then there are the months you must strictly avoid, June through September.
Typhoon season.
Yes, this is the heart of typhoon season. The surrounding seas get really rough, the ferry boats become highly unreliable, and are frequently canceled.
And major attractions close, right?
Exactly. Places like White Island will actually face complete closures due to dangerous weather conditions. Now, if you're traveling with a family, your absolute sweet spot is March. It provides the cleanest, calmest weather window before the massive, chaotic domestic surge of Holy Week.
I also want to touch on crowd control, because this is something Camiguin handles with surprising sophistication compared to other booming islands.
They are very proactive about it.
Yeah, they aren't just letting people trample the environment. White Island, for instance, enforces a strict 4-hour maximum stay for every visitor, and they outright ban overnight stays to protect the nesting grounds of local sea turtles.
Which is fantastic. Mantegue Island also operates on a heavily controlled daily entry system.
Even the sunken cemetery isn't a free-for-all where you can just dive wherever you want. It requires structured tour operations and guides.
Yep. Plus, the local government is finalizing a massive infrastructure upgrade in 2026.
The road, right?
Now, a fully paved, circular road investment. It's a loop just under 80 kilometers long that rings the entire island, meaning you can rent a local scooter for $6 a day and independently navigate to every major site.
But I have to push back on this whole golden window theory. If the New York Times, one of the most widely read publications on Earth, just told the entire world to go here, aren't we going to see a flood of people ruining that quiet, localized vibe immediately?
It's a fair concern.
Like, how long does this lag window realistically last before the secret is totally dead?
That is the multi-million-dollar question in the travel industry. But if we look at historical data from similar destination booms, there is a very real physical lead time between media hype and bodies arriving on the ground.
Oh, interesting.
When a place like Camiguin gets named a top destination globally, you don't magically see 50,000 backpackers land the following week.
Because they physically can't get there easily?
Exactly. It takes 2 to 3 years for international flight routes to be proposed, negotiated, and established by major airlines. Furthermore, it takes years for the big hotel chains to identify the trend, negotiate land purchases, secure local permits, ship in materials, and physically construct the high-volume infrastructure required to hold mass tourism.
So the lag isn't just an information delay, it's a physical, concrete bottleneck in the hospitality supply chain.
Precisely. People might read the article today, and maybe they save it to a Pinterest board or start planning a trip for late next year. But the real vibe-destroying flood only arrives when the massive global travel agencies start aggressively selling prepackaged deals to the mainstream market.
Right.
And they cannot do that until the physical hotels and direct transit lines exist. So for you, listening right now, 2026 is that rare physical golden window. The media has given you the tip, but the concrete hasn't been poured yet.
Okay, let's say you take our advice and you book that flight for 2026. Let's talk about the reality of those first impressions.
Oh, this is important.
Because stepping out of Mambajao Airport is going to be a shock to the system for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It sounds less like arriving at a manicured tropical resort and more like stepping straight onto the set of a gritty 1970s adventure film.
That's a great way to put it.
You are being pampered. You are being dropped directly into the natural environment.
I think that's the perfect framing. The arrival reality at Mambajao Airport is incredibly raw and wonderfully immediate. There are no polished, air-conditioned VIP lounges. There is no line of white-glove taxis waiting to whisk you away to a gated compound.
It's just you and the elements.
Open air, the humidity hitting you instantly, tricycles and Habel-Hebels, which are the local unregulated motorcycle taxis, that's your welcome committee.
Wow.
But the visuals are deeply striking. The primary roads are universally described as immaculate and clean, cutting sharply through this intensely green, hyper-fertile volcanic vegetation.
And the volcano is just right there.
Always. Dominating your entire field of vision, no matter where you look, is the constant looming presence of the 332-meter active Mount Haibak. It sets a profoundly different tone than stepping off a plane in Honolulu or Cancun.
Our sources repeatedly describe the overall aesthetic and vibe of the island as 1970s authenticity.
Yeah, it really fits.
There are zero massive chain hotels. There are no exclusive beach clubs pumping EDM music over overpriced cabanas. There is absolutely no bottle service culture. The culinary and social scene is driven entirely by local warongs, small, family-owned eateries, modest family-run resorts, and this unique, pervasive quietness that you just don't find in modern travel anymore.
We do need to interject with a strict digital caveat here, particularly for anyone listening who is banking on working remotely while they travel.
The internet situation.
Yeah. Fiber internet does technically exist in the main municipal town of Mambajao. However, it is deeply frustratingly inconsistent once you leave that central hub. Island-wide, the cellular data and internet signals are patchy at absolute best.
Which honestly kind of fits the whole 70s adventure aesthetic. If you're going to unplug, you are essentially being forced to unplug.
Very true.
But let's look at this sociologically. Why does this lack of a polished arrival, the lack of Wi-Fi, the lack of luxury transport actually set better expectations for a trip? Why is this a feature and not a bug?
It raises a really critical point about the psychology of raw travel and destination filtering. When you arrive at an airport and there are no luxury transfer buses, no international coffee chains, and no immediate comforts, it acts as a harsh, immediate filter.
Right.
It instantaneously filters out the demographic of travelers who are strictly looking for frictionless luxury, constant room service, and highly manicured experiences.
It essentially scares away the entitlement.
Exactly. It tells you exactly what kind of ecosystem you have entered. And by actively filtering out that high-maintenance, luxury-seeking demographic, the destination inadvertently preserves its authentic culture for those who actually have the patience to appreciate it.
That makes total sense. You aren't being insulated from the reality of the destination inside a luxury bubble. You are participating in the local reality from the second you grab your bags off the tarmac.
Exactly.
Speaking of participating in the local reality, let's talk about where you are going to sleep. We are going to break down the accommodation landscape into 4 distinct tiers, complete with actual hard USD prices.
And this is where the economic value proposition of Camiguin becomes almost unbelievable to a Western traveler.
Oh, absolutely.
The pricing structures here truly defy modern, post-inflation global travel expectations. It's a throwback to decades past.
Okay, let's look at Tier 1. The budget or backpacker level, we are talking an astonishing $9 to $16 a night.
9 to 16, it's crazy.
You have local RedDoorz properties operating in this space. You have the GV Hotel located in central Mambajao, which will run you just $10 to $14 for a basic fan-cooled room for 2 people. You have places like July's Haven Seaside, bookable via RedDoorz for $12 to $15 a night. This is strictly no-frills accommodation. You are getting clean sheets, a functional bathroom, 4 walls, and that is absolutely it.
Which, frankly, is all a certain segment of travelers' needs.
Yeah.
If your itinerary involves hiking across 7 volcanoes, diving marine sanctuaries, and exploring sunken ruins from dawn until dusk, a $10 bed is perfectly sufficient.
Now, Tier 2 is the mid-range.
Ah,
And this is where that incredible, almost mythical $20 a night cap claim comes from.
yes, the sweet spot.
In this tier, you can secure a fan room at the Beach House Resort for $11 to $15. Or you can spend $25 to $40 a night for charming, family-run coastal resorts situated right along the road between Mambajao and the jump-off zone for White Island.
I agree completely. This tier is the undeniable sweet spot of the island.
Yeah.
At the $25 to $40 a night range, you're getting genuine, tangible comfort.
Yeah.
You're often positioned right on the coast. And you're staying in properties run by local families who are deeply personally invested in ensuring you have a good experience, because their livelihood depends entirely on word of mouth.
Moving up, Tier 3 is what we would call boutique and experience. This will run you $45 to $70 a night.
Okay.
These are your specialized eco resorts and heavily dive-oriented spots. It is critical to manage expectations here, though. This is not global five-star luxury. You aren't getting a private plunge pool or a personal butler.
Right.
But you are getting lovely sea views, reliable air conditioning, and private, well-appointed baths.
And finally, we hit Tier 4, family and resort. And this is fascinating because it has an absolute hard cap of $80 to $100 a night.
That's the cap.
That is the ceiling of the market. Because there are no massive international chains like Marriott or Hilton operating here to artificially drive prices into the high hundreds or thousands, the top of the market remains incredibly grounded.
Let's contextualize that with some family math. A family of 4, staying for 5 nights, booking at the absolute top of the market, will spend $250 to $450 total on their accommodation for the entire week.
It's almost hard to process.
I have to pause here because my brain is short-circuiting a bit. $250 to $450 total for a family of 4 for 5 nights in a destination highly recommended by the New York Times. What is the economic catch here regarding the quality of what you are getting?
Well, the catch, if you want to call it that, is simply understanding what you are not paying for.
Okay, unpack that.
In a $400 a night resort in Hawaii, you are paying the massive overhead for 50-item breakfast buffets. You're paying for sprawling infinity pools with swim-up bars and dedicated chlorine technicians.
Right.
You're paying for a massive multilingual concierge desk that can source you anything in the world at 3 a.m. In Camiguin, you simply do not get those things because the infrastructure doesn't exist to support them.
You are stripping out the exorbitant overhead of imported luxury.
Precisely. You are paying for the physical room and the local labor, nothing else.
Wow.
But what you do get in exchange for stripping away that overhead is incredible. You get immediate, unfiltered proximity to raw nature. You get genuine, warm Filipino hospitality from property owners who likely live on the exact same compound as you.
Yeah.
And you get an unbeatable baseline economic value that frees up your capital, allowing you to spend your money on actual memorable experiences like private diving charters, hot springs, and boat trips, rather than just burning it on a place to sleep.
And you will definitely want to redirect some of that saved money into the local food economy. Let's look at food, groceries, and etiquette.
The food scene is fantastic.
The dining scene here is a complete departure from places like Bali or Phuket. It is not driven by slick tourist restaurants with laminated multi-page menus in English. It is driven almost entirely by local carinderias, these are traditional neighborhood eateries, and small family-run spots.
I want to paint a picture of a carinderia for the listener, because it is central to the experience.
Please do.
Picture an open-air, deeply casual neighborhood kitchen. The family who owns it has been cooking since dawn. Their daily offerings are simmering in large metal pots right on the front counter.
Oh, nice.
There is no menu. You simply walk up, look inside the pots, and point to whatever smells the most intoxicating. And because it is hyper-localized, the pricing is almost shocking.
Let's hear the numbers.
A full, hot Filipino meal, which usually includes a massive portion of rice, a rich meat dish like adobo, and fresh local vegetables, will cost you between 100 and 180 pesos.
Translating that to USD, that is just $1.75 to $3.15.
Yep.
Think about that for a second. You are getting a full, hot, locally sourced meal for less than the price of a standard black drip coffee back in the States.
And if you want seafood, it gets even better. Fresh grilled fish, literally pulled from the ocean that very morning by local fishermen, will run you 200 to 350 pesos, which is $3.50 to $6.15.
Unbelievable.
A fresh coconut hacked open on the side of the road with a machete while you wait. 50 to 70 cents. You are bypassing the global supply chain and buying directly from the source.
We also have to specifically highlight the island's signature agricultural harvest, the Lanzones fruit.
Oh, yes.
If you happen to be there in October during the festival, you'll see this fruit absolutely everywhere. It is a small, sweet, slightly tangy fruit, almost like a cross between a grape and a grapefruit, and it's a massive part of the island's cultural and economic identity.
Absolutely.
But what if you are a slow traveler and you want to cook for yourself? Self-catering is incredibly viable and fascinating here. You head down to the Mambajao wet market.
Oh, the wet market is an experience.
This is where the sensory experience really hits you. The sights, the sounds, the smells of a working agricultural hub. Fresh, volcanic, soil-grown veggies will cost you 20 to 40 pesos, which is 35 to 70 cents for a bundle.
So cheap.
Our sources have meticulously calculated that a full, comprehensive 3-day grocery haul for 2 people will cost you a grand total of $15 to $25.
And for dinner, if you don't feel like cooking, there is this phenomenal experience that the digital nomad community refers to as the Squid Game Night Market Feast.
Okay, tell me about this.
You head to the Mambajao evening market as the sun goes down, and you can buy massive, beautifully marinated, freshly grilled squid on a stick for just $2.50 to $4.
Wow.
It is a communal, vibrant dining experience that costs practically nothing.
But traveling isn't just an economic transaction of buying cheap food. It's about how you interact sociologically with the people feeding you. Let's dig into the cultural etiquette.
This is a really important pivot.
Camiguin is a deeply traditionally Catholic island. You will see crosses, shrines, and historic churches everywhere you look. This dictates a certain baseline of respect.
Right.
It means you need to dress modestly, especially when you're visiting sensitive places like the old church ruins or taking a boat out to the sunken cemetery. Do not be that oblivious tourist who shows up to a historic religious site in a tiny string bikini expecting to treat it like a beach club.
That is a crucial point of basic respect. But perhaps even more nuanced and significantly more important for your day-to-day logistics is understanding the deeply ingrained Filipino sociological concept of pakisama.
Yes, pakikisama. I want to spend some real time on this because our sources highlight this as a massive recurring point of friction for Western travelers who simply don't understand what is happening.
It's a vital cultural pillar. Pakisama roughly translates to keeping the peace, maintaining smooth interpersonal relations, or prioritizing communal harmony over individual bluntness.
Oh.
In practical daily terms, it means that locals will often go to extraordinary lengths to avoid directly delivering bad news, causing you disappointment, or saying a blunt, confrontational no to your face.
This concept is endlessly fascinating to me. It's like the cultural equivalent of a polite, smiling maybe that actually secretly means absolutely not under any circumstances.
That's exactly it.
But if you are a Westerner raised on direct, transactional communication, how does a traveler navigate that without completely losing their mind in frustration?
You have to fundamentally rewire how you listen. You have to learn to read the subtle spaces between the lines, and you have to be proactively considerate.
Give me a concrete example.
Let's look at booking a boat trip. If you walk up to a boatman at 3 p.m., and loudly demand to know if he can take you to White Island at 6 a.m. the next day, and he smiles nervously, looks away at the water, and softly says, "Maybe, sir. We will see tomorrow."
Right, what does that mean?
That is very often his polite pakikisama way of saying, "I am already fully booked," or "The tide charts look terrible for tomorrow."
But a Westerner hears maybe and thinks, great, I'll see you at 6 a.m. So you absolutely shouldn't assume it's locked in just because they didn't explicitly reject you.
Never assume. Active, polite confirmation is an act of cultural respect here. It is not just a clever travel hack.
So how do you handle it?
If you show up at 6 a.m. and there is no boat, you don't get angry and start yelling about broken promises.
Yeah.
You simply double-check the night before with an out.
An out.
Yeah. You say, "Is it better if I find another boat for tomorrow morning so I don't disrupt your busy schedule?" You actively give them a polite, face-saving out. But if they take the out, you know the trip wasn't happening. That is how you navigate the culture harmoniously.
Wow, that's brilliant. Okay, let's zoom out and look at the macro daily budget. We've examined the individual pieces, the rooms, the food, the transport. Now let's build the complete financial puzzle.
Let's do it.
We are going to look at 4 distinct tiers: low, mid, high, and a nomad monthly budget. And again, we're using all the precise, validated pricing details from our sources.
Let's start with the lower budget tier. We are looking at an all-in cost of $25 to $35 a day.
Just to reiterate, a day, not an hour. A full 24 hours.
Yes. That incredibly lean figure breaks down to a $10 to $12 Tier 1 room, a couple of hearty carinderia meals for $2 to $3 each, a daily scooter rental for $6 to give you total mobility, and entrance fees for the various hot springs or ruins, which only run 50 cents to $1.75 each.
Incredible.
For $35, you are living a deeply authentic, highly mobile island experience.
Moving up, the mid-range budget is $55 to $70 a day. That upgrades you significantly to a $30 Tier 2 room, much better sit-down seafood dinners, your same $6 scooter, and an $11 to $14 return boat trip charter to out islands like White or Mantegue.
Which is still amazingly affordable.
Oh, for sure. Then we have the high end. For a couple looking to splurge to the absolute maximum extent the island allows, it is $100 to $140 a day total.
That's the max.
That's it. That secures you a top-tier $70 to $90 room, sit-down dining for every meal, paying $11.50 per person for a completely private boat charter, which is based on roughly 650 Philippine pesos, and adding in specialized guided volcanic treks or scuba dives.
And let's revisit the macro math for that family of 4 on a comprehensive 5-night trip. The total cost is frankly astonishing in today's economy. $720 to $1,075 total.
Can you break that down for us?
Sure. That comprehensive figure includes decent rooms for $200 to $300, all meals for $200 to $280, daily activities for $100 to $150, internal transit around the island for $50 to $80, and even the internal round-trip flights from Cebu to Camiguin.
And what do those flights cost?
They cost $168 to $264 total, which is based on an average of $42 to $66 per person round trip.
You are looking at a figure well under $1,100 for an entire multi-day family vacation on an island deemed one of the 52 best places on Earth by the New York Times. It is incredible.
It really is.
Now, let's look at the digital nomad monthly budget. Assuming you secure accommodation with that rare fiber internet in Mambajao, you are looking at $1,600 to $1,900 a month to live there.
Okay.
That's a comfortable $30 a night room, $15 a day allocated for food, a permanent $6 a day scooter rental, and $12 a day to spend on activities.
And let's compare that directly to a mid-range nomad lifestyle in Bali right now, which is running a staggering $2,200 to $2,800 a month.
The nomad math on paper looks incredible. You are looking at something 30 to 40% cheaper than Bali.
Yes.
But I have to throw a wrench in this. If I am a remote worker, does the severe logistical headache of being entirely isolated from a major international airport eventually wipe out the value of those financial savings?
This is exactly where you have to weigh the true holistic cost of geographical isolation. The raw financial savings in Camiguin are immense, yes.
Yeah.
Your bank account will look very healthy.
Right.
But there is a massive hidden time tax you have to rigorously account for. If you have a sudden family emergency back home, or you suddenly need to fly to a critical client meeting in Singapore, you cannot just casually hop in a Grab taxi and be at an international hub in 40 minutes like you can in Bali or Phuket.
Because you are trapped on a domestic island, you have to physically get off the island first before your international journey even begins?
Right. You have to manage to book a domestic flight to Cebu or Manila first. And that is heavily assuming the weather is clear and the domestic puddle jumpers are actually running on schedule.
Oh, right, the weather.
So it really becomes a profound trade-off of capital versus convenience. If your work is truly asynchronous, if you have no pressing geographical commitments, and you do not require emergency mobility, the massive financial savings are absolutely worth it.
But if not,
But if your career dictates that you might need to be on a plane to London with 12 hours notice, the stress and the time tax of that isolation will instantly wipe out whatever you saved on rent.
speaking of severe logistical headaches, we have arrived at what might genuinely be the most high-value, save your entire trip segment of this deep dive.
Pay attention to this part, folks.
We're going to detail 3 specifically named logistics traps that you absolutely must avoid. These are not just minor inconveniences, these are systemic bottlenecks. These traps are like trying to fit a high-speed bullet train onto a local 19th century tram track.
Exactly. The infrastructure isn't broken. It is just operating on a localized communal rhythm that will violently clash with a tight 3-day Western vacation itinerary.
And if you fail Trap 1, you don't even make it onto the island to begin with.
That is painfully accurate. So let's systematically conquer Trap 1, the Belingoan ferry miscalculation.
Okay, here is the standard, supposedly budget route that people constantly find on outdated travel blogs. You fly into the Mindanao mainland, specifically landing at the Laguindingan airport in Cagayan de Oro.
Okay.
Then you catch a public bus to the Belingoan port. Then you take a ferry across the water to the Benoni port on Camiguin. And finally, you catch a tricycle to Mambajao. On paper, it looks like a cheap, authentic, multimodal adventure.
On paper, yes. In reality, it is a high-risk gamble. Here is the mechanical trap. Those buses departing from Cagayan de Oro are not dedicated express tourist shuttles. They are local commuter lines.
Meaning?
They stop constantly to pick up chickens, students, and cargo.
Uh,
And more importantly, the ferries departing from Belingoan do not operate on a strict, minute-by-minute hourly schedule designed for Western impatience.
oh, no.
They operate on a fill-and-go cargo rhythm. If your bus is delayed by traffic and you miss the final boat of the day, you are utterly stuck sleeping in Belingoan.
Which is not ideal.
It's a gritty port town with virtually zero viable accommodation options for tourists. You will literally be sleeping on your backpack on a dock.
Ouch. So what's the fix?
Fix.
Yeah.
It's entirely financial. Pay the extra $20 to $40 and take the direct 55-minute Sebgo flight from Cebu directly into the Camiguin airport.
Okay.
It costs about $26 or more one way, but you have to view that $26 not just as a ticket, but as an insurance policy against catastrophic transit failure. It bypasses that entire fragile chain of buses and boats.
Right. Okay, let's move to Trap 2, the White Island timing trap. Everyone who visits wants that iconic, sweeping sunrise shot standing on the pristine white sandbar with the massive green slopes of Mount Haibok, perfectly framing the background.
Beautiful shot.
The trap here is a fundamental misunderstanding of geography and timing. A lot of casual travelers book their stay in central Mambajao, which can easily be 30 to 45 minutes away from the actual boat jump-off point in Barangay Yumbing. They wake up casually, they eat a slow breakfast, they lazily make their way there, they fail to pre-book a boat using the pakikisama method we discussed, and they end up finally catching a ride in the crowded 9 to 11 a.m. batch.
And by that point, the magic is dead. By 9 a.m., you are standing under the brutal, unfiltered, direct equator sun with zero shade.
Oh, miserable.
The tiny sandbar is absolutely crowded with hundreds of domestic day trippers, and the pristine snorkeling visibility has degraded significantly because the sand has been kicked up by 100 boat motors.
So what's the fix for Trap 2? Book your accommodation physically in Barangay Yumbing so you are steps away from the boats. Use that polite pakisama to firmly confirm your boatman the night before and ensure you leave the shore at 7 a.m. sharp before the heat and the crowds arrive.
Perfect. Finally, Trap 3, the Haibok trekking permit.
Ah, the volcano.
The trap is assuming this is an open, casual, drop-in hike. You see an aesthetic social media post of someone standing at the crater summit, and you falsely think you can just lace up your boots after breakfast and start walking up the mountain.
The reality being?
The reality requires a highly regulated permit from the Protected Area Management Board, the PMB. Hiring a registered local guide is strictly mandatory. You cannot go alone.
Wow, okay.
There are hard daily mathematical caps on the number of trekkers allowed on the trail. And crucially, because it is a highly active volcano, the entire mountain can close randomly and without warning due to minor seismic activity.
So the fix here is rigorous preparation. Pre-register via the local tourism office weeks before you arrive.
Yes.
Or logically accept that nature bats last and have a solid, fully researched backup plan like booking a dive at Manteague Island or visiting the towering Catibas on Falls, just in case the earth decides to rumble that week and the trails are barricaded. I want to ask a philosophical question about this, actually. Why do these traps even exist in the first place? I mean, it feels a bit chaotic for a place the New York Times is globally praising.
Well, if we analyze it economically, these traps aren't malicious tourist scams designed to steal your money. They are simply the natural symptoms of a developing destination where the local, historically sufficient infrastructure hasn't yet scaled to meet the hyper-demanding global tourism standards.
Right.
The transit systems, the boat schedules, the permitting, they're all designed for a slower local pacing. They're not engineered for a Westerner with a tightly packed, heavily optimized 3-day itinerary. The friction happens when you refuse to adapt to their systems and aggressively expect them to adapt to yours.
Which transitions us perfectly into a broader discussion on safety, solo travel, and comfort. We absolutely need to provide some vital geopolitical context here about Mindanao.
Yes, very important.
When people with deep travel experience hear the word Mindanao, immediate alarm bells go off due to decades of historical headlines. How do we responsibly frame Camiguin's safety profile without being dismissive of those very real, broader regional facts?
It is a vital, responsible question. Yes, administratively, Camiguin is part of the broader northern Mindanao region. And as analysts, we have to acknowledge the serious historical security concerns, insurgencies, and conflicts of the Mindanao mainland, specifically in areas like Marawi and Lanao.
Right.
However, to understand Camiguin, you have to understand the geopolitical concept of geographical compartmentalization in archipelagos.
Meaning the island is physically disconnected from the mainland's political issues?
Exactly. Camiguin is its own distinct, isolated province surrounded by deep water. It operates essentially as its own closed-loop ecosystem. The island is geographically, politically, and socially isolated from those complex mainland conflicts.
Okay, that makes sense.
And because of this profound isolation, the entire province is deeply existentially dependent on preserving its peace for its own economic survival. If violence happens, the ferries stop, the tourists stop, and the economy collapses.
So it's highly policed.
The community polices itself vigorously, yes. There is literally zero tourist-targeted crime officially recorded here.
And that robust safety profile extends incredibly strongly to solo female travel. Our sources rate Camiguin it's exceptionally high for solo female travelers.
Absolutely.
You have tight-knit locals who actively look out for visitors, a very safe, low-speed scooter culture, and vibrant night markets where you can walk comfortably alone after dark without facing harassment.
We do, however, need to soberly address the medical and comfort realities. Mambajao only possesses very basic primary medical facilities.
Oh, this is critical.
If you suffer a severe trauma, say a bad scooter accident or a diving emergency, a medical evacuation by air or sea to the major hospitals in Cagayan de Oro on the mainland is a non-negotiable reality. Therefore, arriving here without comprehensive travel insurance that explicitly includes high-limit medical evacuation coverage is incredibly reckless.
Do not skip the insurance, folks. Also, regarding day-to-day comfort and convenience, currency. Cash is absolute king on Camiguin.
Cash only.
There is very limited credit card acceptance outside of maybe the top-tier resorts. The exchange rate currently hovers around 56 to 58 Philippine pesos to 1 USD.
Right.
If you are executing a 5-day, $500 USD trip, you need to mentally prepare to bring roughly 28,000 to 29,000 pesos in physical paper cash with you. Do not expect to tap your phone or use Apple Pay to pay for a tricycle ride or a grilled squid. It is a tactile economy.
Which is part of the charm, honestly. It forces you to engage materially with the transactions.
Let's talk about the experiential highs and lows.
Yeah.
Because nowhere is a perfect utopia, and we promise an honest verdict. Let's start with the absolute best moments.
The sunken cemetery, precisely at 5 p.m., experiencing that golden hour sunset.
Oh, wow.
You have the stark, haunting visual of this massive, solitary cross rising directly out of the ocean waves, marking a bustling town that was violently swallowed by the sea. It is a deeply haunting, beautiful sight that you cannot replicate anywhere else.
Then there is Mantegue Island. It's a protected 14-hectare marine reserve. The snorkeling there is frankly ridiculous. You have immediate, almost guaranteed encounters with massive sea turtles in crystal clear water just feet from the beach.
And we cannot forget the sheer geological novelty of the soda water pool.
Right. Sitting in the soda water pool sounds literally like bathing in a giant lukewarm vat of Sprite.
It does.
It sounds like a fabricated tourist gimmick, but you're saying it's a genuine, naturally occurring geological marvel.
It really is. It is naturally carbonated volcanic water welling up directly from the Earth's crust. You sit in it, and thousands of tiny natural bubbles fizz against your skin.
That is so cool.
And then, to cap off a day of hiking, you hit the ardent hot springs at night. For an entrance fee of 50 pesos, about 90 cents, you can soak your muscles in deeply restorative volcano-heated thermal waters under a completely unpolluted canopy of stars.
But in the spirit of delivering the honest verdict, we have to clearly list the disappointments because they are real.
Yes, let's go through them.
First, as we covered, the luxury accommodation ceiling. If you are seeking the highly curated five-star El Nido or Bali luxury experience with private chefs, you simply won't find it here. There is absolutely no fine dining scene.
The internet, as we stressed, is functionally patchy outside the main town of Mambajao. Mount Hebakabak, for all its towering majesty, is incredibly often clouded over at the summit because the landmass is massive enough to literally generate its own obscuring microclimate.
That's frustrating.
And finally, if you choose to travel during a tourism slump, like the deep off-season post-April in 2026, you might find that the already limited boat frequencies are reduced even further, stranding you if you don't plan ahead.
It is deeply interesting, though. If you analyze it, the disappointments we just listed all stem fundamentally from a lack of commercialization.
Which is exactly the same mechanism that creates the best moments.
Exactly.
You simply cannot have untouched, pristine sea turtle habitats and 90-cent uncrowded volcanic hot springs sitting right next door to massive high-speed fiber networks and Michelin star dining. They are mutually exclusive concepts in the modern travel world.
That's a great point.
The raw, sometimes inconvenient edge of the island is the exact price you pay to experience the magic before it gets paved over.
Okay, let's say you are listening to this profound analysis and thinking, I appreciate the rawness, but I frankly don't want to deal with patchy internet, cash-only economies, or the anxiety of ferry traps. We have two explicitly named comparative alternatives for you, complete with USD breakdowns. Alternative 1, Sikujor, Philippines.
Sikujor is a fascinating comparison because it shares a massive amount of DNA with Camiguin. It has a very similar, mystical, folklore-heavy vibe, incredible coastal waterfalls, and the economics are similar.
So mid-range rooms.
Mid-range rooms run about $15 to $35 a night. A comfortable daily budget sits around $40 to $65. Crucially, though, it has direct, highly reliable flights from Cebu and a significantly more developed hospitality infrastructure.
But what is the downside of that superior infrastructure? Sikijor is heavily starting to suffer from what we call the Instagram effect. You will find massive crowds queuing up for photos at places like Salagdung Beach. Our sources explicitly state that Camiguin in 2026 is exactly what Sikujor was back in 2019 before the algorithms found it.
Alternative 2 is Coron, over in Palawan. This is the definitive step up in terms of globalized tourism.
Right.
It features hyper-organized, world-class, World War II wreck diving, and highly streamlined multi-stop island hopping packages. Rooms range from $30 to $70. The daily budget bumps up to $75 to $120, and the flights in are an easy $60 to $90.
Okay.
Coron essentially shows you Camiguin's inevitable future. Spectacularly beautiful, yes, but heavily monetized with entrance fees for every single lagoon and massive, unavoidable global crowds.
But let me challenge that. If Coron is only costing me $75 to $120 a day, which is still incredibly, wonderfully cheap by Western economic standards,
True.
why shouldn't I just go there, pay the slate premium, and get the better infrastructure and the guaranteed boats?
It ultimately comes down to calculating the true, intangible value of isolation.
Yep.
In Coron, yes, you are paying a slight premium for massive convenience, but you are sharing the immense spectacle with thousands of other people.
Right, the crowds.
Every photo you take has a bright orange tourist life jacket bobbing in the background. In Camiguin, you are getting 80% of the raw, breathtaking natural spectacle. You are paying 50% of the budget, and you have the profound, increasingly rare luxury of having the landscape almost entirely to yourself.
All right, we have reached the end of the analysis. It is time for the matrix. I'm going to rapid fire the specific traveler types, and you give me the definitive, honest verdict on whether Camiguin is worth it for them, based on everything we have unpacked today. Ready?
I am ready.
The backpacker.
Yes, but with a strict condition. You will get extraordinary world-class value at $25 to $35 a day, but only if you possess the travel grit to successfully navigate the Balingo and ferry logistics, or if you are smart enough to just pay the $26 for the direct flight.
The mid-range traveler.
Strongly, yes. This demographic is the island's absolute sweet spot. Spending $55 to $70 a day, meaning an all-in cost of $700 to $900 total for a couple for 5 nights, provides a level of coastal comfort and private exploration that is globally unbeatable in 2026.
The family of 4.
Conditional. Yes, it is a fantastic core memory-building trip if your kids are 7 to 14 years old and love marine biology, turtles, and exploring hot springs.
And the condition.
It is an objectively bad idea for babies or toddlers because of the intense equatorial heat, the necessity of small open boat rides, and the stark lack of Western medical or convenience amenities.
The luxury traveler.
Not yet. That hard $80 to $100 price ceiling simply will not satisfy your high-end boutique expectations. There's no infrastructure for you here. Check back in 2028 or 2029 when the hotels catch up to the hype.
The digital nomad.
Yes, but strictly for slow, deeply stationary travel. The $1,600 to $1,900 a month math works perfectly for the budget, but only if you absolutely do not need immediate international airport access for sudden career or family emergencies.
So to synthesize all of this deep dive,
Yeah.
this is an island that deeply, richly rewards proactive preparation.
And swiftly, unforgivingly punishes entitlement and assumptions,
Absolutely.
and leaves us with a deeply fascinating sociological paradox to mull over as we close.
Yeah.
The New York Times deliberately put Camiguin on its 52 places list to celebrate and theoretically preserve its untouched, localized nature. But by naming it a top destination globally, that specific list inevitably initiates the exact cascade of globalized infrastructure that will eventually systematically destroy the very quietness they were praising.
Wow.
It is the ultimate observer effect of tourism.
Right.
If you go in 2026, you are quite literally racing against the very article that brought you there in the first place.
We started this conversation by talking about finding a secret, curated room with a neatly prepared artisanal cocktail. Camiguin isn't that.
Yeah.
Camiguin is realizing the entire house is built on top of an active volcano, the cocktail costs 50 cents, and you have to pour it yourself, but it is unequivocally the best, most memorable drink you've ever had. If this gave you the honest verdict you needed, follow the show. New episodes drop every day.
That is the honest verdict from Phil and H.